Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to finish painting the scene quickly. So what we had left last time was we were starting to put in some of the surrounding mountains. So I'm just going to keep going with that basically. So I'm in the mountain layer. Um, I'm selecting all of this stuff. I'm basically going to move it a little further out and give it a little more atmospheric haze because I feel like it's still too close, right? So I'm just going to kind of dust that on. Let's kill that so we can see what we're doing. Okay, cool. This is a lot. I mean, this is basically a lot of what I want to show you anyway with the environment, but it'd be cool to show you, like, you know, the idea that you can do plenty with just sort of dusting the same stuff around and dusting atmospherics around, right? So let me do like a sky dome and the water, and then we can just do the car basically. I could also quickly throw in some grape leaves here. I'll show you that too. Let's create a new layer, call it grapes. And for something like grape rose, you know, like you may want to really be tempted to make detail, but you don't have to. So like one thing I just do is quickly, you know, grab some of this color. And I know grapes are like a little bit warmer in green. And you just kind of draw an arbitrary shape, rotate it, good enough. And then what I'll do with that is, again, do the duping where you know, give it a shade side. Good enough, right? And then you want to, now these things are not that big to a human. You're going to be, you know, it's going to be much smaller. So something like this, probably. And the other thing wine grapes have are these cool little like poles that hold them up. So I would indicate that. Okay, and then what you can do, since I know this is my close-up scene, I'm going to just kind of do a few variations of that.
So the way he just did it is he just duplicated it and just hit redo. So
Yep,
redo basically repeats the prior action.
one of my favorite Quill features, I have to say. Okay, so you sort of are indicating this, and then you don't really need much else as you go into the distance. So I might do like just a, oops, something like this. You know, you really just,
Manual LODing.
yeah, just manual LODing basically, because really all you're trying to do is give the sensation of that it's kind of receding, and then I would just take the whole thing, dupe it a few times. Good thing about wine grapes is they're repetitive. The other thing too is, you know, you can also obviously go in here and just shift these a little bit or whatever, but really not important. And then, because again, you're thinking about where is my viewpoint going to be? I'm always going to be somewhere over here. I'm not going to be in these grapes over here. So, and then the other thing I do is just a simple, that shadow pass again. And all I'm doing is dusting some green on these shadows that aren't not super harsh. That's all. Okay, so that's kind of like where I would go with grapes at this point, you know? Are you guys still with me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let's do a quick water. I want to show you how to do water and animate some ripples on this thing, right? So first, let's put a few things to reflect in the water, which makes it nice. Okay, so I'm just putting some things that will look cool when they're reflected onto the water, basically, and they're moving. So here we go. We got that going. What else? Oh yeah, the sky dome. Let's do the sky dome and the reflections in this water, and then we'll start the animation. So for sky dome, I will do something as simple as this. This is a good trick to create a new layer. Call it sky dome.
You're 20 minutes in.
Okay.
It's time for animation.
Let's do this. Okay. This should go fast. So I do like a nice big stroke in the world, maybe even bigger. And then I scale it down. And then using the gizmo only, I make a little arc out of this thing. Something like that. Hopefully no gaps in it. And now this is a nice high poly strip. And then I do this and this and this, and then I just do that a few times. All right. Okay, you guys still with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my big sky dome. It's good.
The more efficient way, you know how to do this, but just for everyone, is like to import like a PNG
you can import.
gradient.
You can totally import a gradient, and it gives you a really smooth one. The only reason I do this sometimes is because I like to do custom stuff in here that
you can colorize it. Yeah.
You can colorize it, and I like to do it in VR just so I can see where exactly the gradation is and what it looks like real time, but it will be smoother and better looking if you do it as just a JPEG. I think the purity of doing it all in Quill is fun. But essentially something like this, and then maybe I will just like brighten it, maybe go a little more cyan at the top or at the base. And then you could also warm it up on like one side slightly. Not that much. On the side that the sun is coming from. You can see how nice and smooth the gradation can get if you use high polys. And you can, do whatever you like with this. Okay, good enough. And then maybe what I do is, this strip is kind of ugly. And then you can do some clouds. So with the cloud layer, I'll just do something like this. And then I'll go in here and just use like a round brush and a really warm white. And you can just take that. And all you're really trying to do is break up the sky. So it doesn't really matter too much.
You guys see how he's rotating when he's duplicating? That's why you get like different silhouettes really quick. So.
Yep. Looking at the, silhouette sort of from where I am, good enough. And then what I'll do is like, again, light directions from here. So I know these clouds are going to be nice and bright and these will be backlit. So I just take some of these and just, you could almost just sample that color. And you kind of do this. So they're a little, and you can really go nuts and get them like completely dark. And that actually makes it look like the sun is back here. behind this cloud and not these. It depends how harsh you want the sun to look. And then I just take, like, again, the simple sort of trick of selecting all this, duplicating it and shifting it. And then you can colorize that if you want to give you sort of a shadow on the clouds. And then with over here, you're going to want to brighten it and do the opposite. Something like that is fine. And you can also go in afterwards again and just sort of dust those colors over everything too, just to kind of unify it if you want. And I like to that's where you can kind of like really peek out the bright lights of the sun, like hitting the peaks of some of this stuff, if you wanted to just play around with it. This is very similar to oil painting. So it's like, this might be lit, casting a shadow here, on these
clouds are lit.
Clouds are always lit. Anyway, this is fun. Like, you just play with this, and really, again, it's just a matter of like creating shade where there's shade and where there's not.
You had 30 minutes, Mike.
Okay, that's pretty good actually for clouds. I just wanted to show you that idea, right? And then the cool thing is you want to kind of give, what I really liked about this scene was this creek running through the thing, right? So several ways to do water. One is you draw the creek bed like this, and then you go in and you make a water layer.
Just wanted to say, Mike, real quick, I really like the fact that you have a really solid control on the color harmony.
Thanks. Mm-hmm.
It's. I mean, one can tell that you're used to do it on oil, and it really shows here. So yeah, great stuff, bro.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, man. And then, that's the thing about Quill that I really like, is that it lets me do that. Lets me do it exactly how I want and in little ways, including this. I'll show you with this water. So this is one way, obviously I know, when you paint or you do art, the water will reflect the sky. So it should be a similar color, and it might be darker, it might be lighter, depending on your angle. But so one way is to just do this, right? You're just drawing a plane of water and great. And then you could go into this and set it to transparent. And this is also an important point. You want to be on the numbers. You want to be 50, or, you want to be like exactly 75 or whatever. Increments of 25 just look better on when they dither out. So especially capturing video.
However, can talk to this while you do this.
Go and do this, but it's not good on Quest. So I'll show you the other way. I'm going to not do this. I'll show you the other way while Goro explains.
Yeah, so basically, because of the way transparency is computed in VR and in Quill, you might have noticed when you capture video, sometimes the transparency is super grainy, and that results because it's computed through dithering. So if you use the numbers like maybe 25, 50, and 75 even layer opacity, then you usually get the best quality. However, you got to know that when you want to share it to mobile VR, Quest has a different way of computing transparency, so it might actually look worse. So if you can avoid transparency wherever you can, you get better results in Quest. It doesn't mean that you can't use it at all. It's more like the result might not look the way you expect. But reflections are just an illusion. So what Mike's going to show you guys is like how to do it without transparency. That's what I'm assuming, right?
Yep, exactly. So I just deleted, to show you that, I deleted the creek bed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now grab the things that would reflect in the water, like the edge of the bank. And again, these are decisions you're going to make. What is going to reflect? You have to know that. So the creek bed is one. So I'm going to duplicate it, move it to a new layer, select that layer so I get the gizmo for it, and I can see that's the y-axis. I want to go in here, and I want to just flip it in y, and then move it down. Okay, so now there's the reflection of my bank. I'm going to call this reflection. Okay, and then I'm going to just, again, this is something you would just know. You're going to color it with an atmospheric color. So just by dusting the atmosphere onto the reflected geometry, and it's the further you go out, the more atmosphere you get in your reflection. That's it. I mean, look, that looks like the reflection of the bank, right? Same with the trees. So I'll go in here, select tree, and I've already got it all in a layer. So I'll just do this, duplicate the layer, tree one, and flip it in Y, move it down. Delete this. Oops. Okay. And you can see, oh yeah, those were in another layer. That's good enough, right? So you got your tree. I'll move this into reflection, just so I have one reflection layer. So I'm in reflect, merging down. Now everything that's reflective is in there. Just go in and color these. So now when you're looking at the bank, if you were to see the trees, you'd see like a nice reflection of them, right? Same with the bridge. That would be the last thing to do.
This is also a cleaner way to do this reflections, because reflections is just a matter of like painting the right color. So you're not relying on a layer that makes it half transparent or something, because if you make a surface that is half transparent, it's really like you're not deciding what colors the reflections have, right? So it's important that you want to stay in control. So the same with fog. Like if you try to do it through layer opacity, you're letting basically the software decide what the fog will look like versus like making the deliberate decisions. So not only will this look better on mobile VR, like exactly the same because there is no transparency,
right?
But also it gives you the maximum control of
Totally.
how you want to color it. Yeah.
Right. Like I could say this bridge I want it to be more light or darker or whatever. So I have total control, including artistic control, which is really nice. And I'll show you the coolest part. The Goro showed me this, and I was just blown away. It's such a fun trick. Is now that you've got this reflective geo in here, and I would probably do the mountains too back here. You can just go in, create a separate layer. I'm going to create a separate layer and call it ripple. This is our first animation. Okay, I made a separate layer called ripple, and I'm going to give it 24 frames just to like, you know, kind of have like, and I like doing things in increments of 24, like Goro said, and Daniel points out. It's easier to divide and things like that by more numbers. So I've got a 24 frame loop. I'm going to loop it, go back to the beginning, and just have it running, right? So now I've got an empty looping 1 second thing, and I'm just going to go into the reflect layer, take like, you know, this brush right here, give it a slight duration, and then you sample the color of the local reflection, and you just kind of do this along the edge. So you're just breaking the silhouette of that reflection. And there you go. Like that, you know, starts to look like the thing is rippling. And I would also do the reflection of the underneath of this bridge, which would be dark. So you wouldn't see like a white hole here. You'd see like, you know, you'd see. You would see this. Right, so you see something like that. And then you could even go into this and again do the same ripple trick where I'm sampling this dark color now and painting, you know, this against the light blue. Which just kind of breaks the silhouette, makes it look more like moving water. And what's I love about this is I can do all sorts of fun things like, you know, blend in some of the random other colors that might also reflect in here every once in a while. I mean, you can just play with this. It's really fun to play with. So
the flicker you guys see under the bridge, that's just Z fighting. We covered that last week, but
yes,
simple way to get rid of that is just giving it a little nudge, go to that layer and then nudge the strokes slightly, ever so slightly, and that should remove that flicker.
There it is.
Yep, there we go.
You do a big radius and just touch it. Just touch it, and it tends to fix it. So there's that. So that's reflection. That's how you're going to get this. And I would put, like, what's nice is you want to also get some of the fun things like the cloud into that reflection is good. So I would just duplicate that and flip in Y. Actually, let's reset pivot and flip Y. And just drag that down too, so that like you will see those from certain angles when you're like, you know, like here. And this is where you want to play with where those clouds are, because it'd be nice in your video to like catch some of the reflections in the water as you're looking at it, as you capture the movie. So that's where, you know, you kind of want to plan your camera angles, like, you know, something like this, for example, where you can see the tree, see the bridge, see this, maybe even do the reflection of the car as it drives by. Okay, so that's essentially that process.
You're 40
right?
minutes in, so maybe you want to.
So let's start the car.
Go towards
right?
the car. Yes.
Yeah, let's do the car. So now, this is kind of one of our main characters. So what we'll do is go back here, and we want to create a new layer and call him car. Okay, this is where I'm going to put the car body, and I'm going to give you a really fast Mike Corey demo of how I do a car. It's like you can do it 100 ways, but this one's going to be the really simple way.
But you're not going to make the Lincoln.
I'm not going to make the Lincoln for you in 3 seconds. Okay, so you're in here. I want to kind of do, you know, let's go with like an orange, a nice orange, yellow saturated car. So you could start with planes like this, which is kind of what I do often. Okay, so there's that. Let's see, we're going to do the back of the car. And I'm just doing really boxy car here. So I'm basically just constructing this thing in the most basic way.
Can you turn on the wireframe, Fiber?
Yep. Right.
Thank you.
So, and I'm just kind of creating a shell that I know will be the like main body of the car. Okay, good enough. Let's put one on top.
The way he's snapping the rotation is he's using the index finger on the manipulator on the gimbal. So that way you can actually snap in increments.
So that's one. The other thing you can do is use the box brush too to kind of like fill in any gaps you don't like. I mean, there's a million ways to do this, but essentially the idea is you want to get, and then the other thing I might do is, so then you want the pillars of the car. You got your, this, something like that.
So also you can see that his strokes, when he's using grid snap, they're like perfectly aligning to the road, and that's because he just set up the scene perpendicular or parallel to the grid. So this is like a good habit to do because there's a world grid that the strokes snap towards. So always think about like where you want to create those things, because if you would have had the road like kind of angled, then the car might not be like perpendicular. But it doesn't matter during creation, because then you can create it parallel to the grid and then move it into place. But the way Mike was setting up his scene here, you can see that he was setting it up parallel to the grid.
Yeah, and it's like, if it doesn't matter, like if it's arbitrary, you might as well set it up to the grid. Like, why not? That's what I do. Sometimes it does matter. You don't want to be on the grid, but often it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it matters actually if you make loops. Then and if you want to move the background perfectly, like in a line, it's like always recommended to work perfectly perpendicular to the grid, because otherwise you will not be able to slide the background very well.
That's right. Because you're always locked to that world coordinate axis, so you might as well be using it. So I'm just kind of giving the silhouette of the car here in the front. That's good, and then when we're all done, I just to clean it up, I just give it a full sort of one color pass, and then I'll do the same thing. Dupe, move over. I know my sun's coming from there, so now I want to give this a slight bit of shade to it, right? Maybe that's good enough, let's say. And then you can, and the other thing I like to do is, like, there's a lot of ways to do wheels and stuff. For this, I'm just going to do simple ones. I'm not going to rotate them in place because you don't really notice that. But you could put those in a separate layer and animate the wheels, but I'll show you how you don't really need it. So like, that's one way. Just create a capsule pill shape, whatever that is. Like that. You could construct the wheel. You could do it out of a solid cylinder. And you want to kind of get the proportions of the car right? So give it a hubcap. Okay, cool. So there's my wheel. 1, 2.5. Cool. That's typical wheelbase.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Well, for a compact car. Okay, so let's go with something like this, right? And then you can do all sorts of stuff. Shade the interior, make it dark, add glass, add people. It's okay. The other thing I like to do just for fun is, this is like the fun part of Quill, is like you can indicate stuff on the car without having to like really model it. Like you can just do that. Just have fun with it. I mean, this is where it can be really fun. Or the headlights, the grill.
So smiley face. Nice.
So yeah, like, it's just cool to play with. So you get all this, you're like pretty happy with it. Let's put some tail lights on here too.
I'm assuming everybody's seen the Lincoln piece that he did, so you can prove himself that he can paint cars.
Exactly. This is more like the fun car. Let's give him a
cute
bumper.
one. I would take it.
It's cute. I know, right? I like the color. Okay, so let's say like this is my car. I want to give it 4 wheels, of course. Cool. Okay, so now I've got my car modeled. And what I will also do is I know I'm going to like translate it down, keyframe it down that road, and that's all good. The other thing I want to do is create like a dust cloud going behind it, which is really fun. So again, new layer, call it dust. Go back. Ooh, whoa. There we go. Sorry, I lost tracking there. Go back to the beginning. Give this also, again, giving this about 24 frames is a good idea. Maybe, actually, I'll go to 40. I'll go to 48 with this, like 2 seconds.
You never use the shortcut, huh, with the joystick up?
I do. I was trying to just be accurate. You're right. If you hold joystick up, it'll just dupe the frames. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you see where you're at on that little frame counter on your
That's true. Right? So, that's true. Okay, so I gave that 2 seconds, looped it. Why didn't that line up? Anyway, let's see. Oh no, it did. Okay, so now this one's exactly double the length of Ripple. And what's cool is later I can merge these two into one layer and they'll be fine. Because they're on increments, they'll never get, one of them won't get cut off. The shorter one won't get cut off. As long as dust, the longer one, is on top when I merge. I'll show you that. But okay, so dust is on, press play. It's looping, right? And then what I'm gonna do is go behind the car and just kind of do one of these. I'm gonna sample the color of the road and maybe go a little bit brighter. And this is literally the most fun thing in Quill. Like nothing lets you do this so fun in such a fun way. Okay, so like, and I'm kind of like imagining the dust clouds as they go further back, maybe getting bigger and spaced out. And then I might drag one all the way through it. Okay. Cool. That's good. I will optimize that layer. And then I'll do the same thing, duplicate it, which you can do a bunch of ways. You don't have to duplicate the layer. I can sit here and select it all over 2 seconds, but it's just easier in this case to dupe, offset a little bit, and then paint the dust also with the shade color a little bit.
So one way is the way he's doing it right now. What he could do is also like select all frames over time and then stop the timeline and then just evenly colorize it. So what he's doing now, he's colorizing over time, so it might flicker a little bit, which might be good for this case because you want it to flicker.
I kind of like that. That's true. Yeah. That's a good point. You can get exact. Yep.
If you want it to be like even, applied evenly, in that case, you would select all 24 frames and then stop the timeline and then colorize it in that moment. And then you will get an even colorization over across frames. And not necessarily, you can just select everything just with the selection tool.
Oh, okay.
And then just stop the timeline, right?
Got it. Okay, so like there, I've done that. And what's cool about this second layer too is it lets you like adjust how much shade you want, or whether it's behind or not. Okay, so I moved it a little further behind since I know light's coming from in front of us. And then good enough. Let's say that's cool, right? Now I can go up here, merge these two, right? And that's all one layer now. And then I will dupe the dust itself just because there's 2 wheels. And then just move that one here. And then if these look too similar, there's a lot of ways you can, whoa. You could either offset it in space, or it's also fun with some of these more, stop motion-y looking animations. You can just go into this layer and use the select tool over time. Just sit here and pick.
And before you do that, actually, there's a quick way to do this. Just trim the layer on top in time, and then offset it in time, right? So go back in time, rewind, and then trim the front end of it, the back, and so the beginning, trim it from the left. Just grab it and then trim it more. I'm about halfway.
Oops.
the bracket icon should show up when you hover over it, the edge. No,
Come on.
you just had it.
I know. Sometimes this gives me. There we go.
If you hover over it just right, a little bit over. There you go. Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay, and now push it back.
Okay.
No, now grab the clip. Grab the clip and push it back. Grab it with it. No.
I hate that. I hate when I do that.
So if you do that, you can click on the at the top when you hit the clip. Click on the clip. Now click on the span that you just created. Click
right
on
here.
No, on that span on your right side. No.
Yeah.
And then at the top UI, there's a trash can on the bottom left. Next to that, yeah, remove clips end. So it's
I didn't know that.
So now you can just grab the clip and push it back in the timeline. So it's yeah, exactly.
Got it. Yes.
Now if you hit play, it should look super random.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. Got it.
So the good thing about this is like if you merge these two layers now, it will maintain the offset. So
it will, right?
Yeah,
does it matter which one's on top, Goro, or no?
It does. It does matter in a way that I would put the one that has the full cycle always on top because otherwise, if you would do it the other way around,
that one.
It doesn't shorten it, but you have to pull it out again, right?
Okay.
This way, if you merge from the longest animation, it's better because then it stays long. Visually, it's better.
Got it. So there you go. So now they're merged, they're offset. So that was a good trick, the shortening and offsetting of the track. So there's that, right? And now you've got your sort of car with its like particle effect. You could also go in, grab the wheels, rotate them, and give them a clip if it was going to be visible.
You have 6 minutes, but we can go over.
Right, and that's good. I mean, that's a lot of it right there. So now what I do is I create a new sequence and call it like car drive. I'm gonna put dust in there, and I'm gonna put car in there, and I'm gonna keyframe car drive going down the road. So let's reset its pivot. Okay. Let's do this. So this is gonna be, let's start it back here. I probably have more terrain behind me, but this is good enough for now.
It's a huge car.
The car is huge too, right? So this is what's great about Quill. Now that it's all in one group, you want to get it down to about the right size. Let's just say maybe a little bit bigger. Oh, the other thing you definitely want to do, but you could do this at any time. This is what's nice about the layering, but you might as well do it now, is just add the shadow for the car. Which I can also just do in the same car layer. I don't really have to go to another layer. So just a simple shadow. Okay. Probably want to get one under the car too. And you could even go nuts and do one for these, but you don't have to. Okay, so there's my shadow. Now I will keyframe the car. So let's go back to the beginning, go to car drive, and give it some keyframes. So we will do one here. We're going to drive for about like, let's say 4 seconds. Oops. Down that road. Yeah, so let's go to about here. Give it another keyframe. Move it to about here, right? Right now it's going in a straight line. Yeah, let's say at about 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about there. That's good. Let's go in the middle. Set another keyframe, and probably about here. Let's set one more. Go here and set one more. Okay, now I'm going to go into these keyframes and kind of give it a slow turn so it kind of follows the road. So I'm up here, I'm still straight here. I'm going to want to be a little bit turned and a little bit here. And here, probably a little further out. And then by the time I'm here, I'm going to be definitely turned and probably over here. You may have to add another in between here. But not bad. And you can see it kind of skating right there. You can fix that by adding more keyframes, but I'm just going to go with this. And then what's cool is you can, let's say I want to go a little bit further, 5 seconds. And maybe we give it one more. Okay. So now I want it to loop that whole drive. So I'm going to give it one more sequence. Call it drive loop. And then move this out and move car into it. So now, and I'll go to my last keyframe of my thing. I want to hit repeat for sequence, and you'll see
that was the wrong one. The one above.
Oh no, but don't you have to also do it to this? I thought you had to do both.
No,
oh, interesting.
No. Only if you have another keyframe underneath that you want to loop.
Got it. So you go to the one that holds car drive. At that last keyframe, hit this. It will now loop this entire thing. So
yay!
And you saw a little bit of coasting, and it slowed down there, which is okay because but I could drag that keyframe further out. So the other thing I want to do is fade the car in and out so you don't see it pop. And that's just as simple as going here, switching to this, and adding keyframes as well. So like add one, oops, sorry. Go here, add one, go to the end, add one, go right before it, right after the beginning.
The Sin City trick, right?
Yes, totally. Here, you're gonna, the short duration, this will be transparent and transparent. So you can see now it's showing you how it's looping the transparency. So now it'll just fade in, fade out, and just continuously go. And one more trick, and this is actually a really great trick for timing. In this scene, to have this car constantly drive by is annoying. Like you kind of want to have a gap of time where the car isn't driving by, where you might be sitting there. So the way to do that is, let's see if I can remember this. So,
just change the loop point. Just change the end loop point of drive loop. So go to drive loop.
Yep.
And just extend the loop point, like somewhere, like go for, no. Leave it there, the clip there. Just go further in the playhead. And then loop it there.
Got it.
Because that way,
that's easy enough. Yeah. And it'll have that gap. So now it'll have like 5 to 8, a 3-second gap, let's say.
Just set a new loop point there, double click, boom, and there you have the
boom,
gap.
Right? And what happens now is you'll see it fade, and there's a gap. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, then it starts again. And so the further out you drag that, the longer your gap. If you wanted to put the gap in the beginning, you'd shift the whole thing over. That's another way to do it.
Exactly. You can shift the whole sequence now, right?
Yeah. But in this case, that's fine. So I just wanted to put a gap in it, right?
And the cool thing is this way you can actually wait for a minute. If you have like a lot of stuff going on, you can just say like, at minute 7, I want the car to pass by. It's like super easy to do.
And I want to show you one last thing with the sound in here. So I have an engine, a looping engine wave file that I downloaded, right? So what you can do is go here. So I'm going to go into car drive, go loop. Let's see, where am I? Quill. Did I put it in here? Where did I put it? Sorry, I'll find it. Oh, all images and sounds. Okay, so here's car engine wave. Let's add this. Okay.
Oh, it's not.
That's not a good one. So this is not the one I wanted, right? Let's delete this one. There's two of them. So let's add this one, car engine simple. Oops.
At the bounding box.
Sorry. So that's just a looping idle of a car, of an engine as it's in the thing. So let's stop this. Car engine is now, the sound itself is grouped with the car. So it's moving with the car, which is good. However, we want it to be on the car engine. And probably something like this. Okay. Let's hide it. Okay, so now that car carries the sound with it, and it's just a looping. Oh, and I have to do this to loop. Okay, so now it's looping, and I can spatialize it and play with this stuff. It's bananas, like what you can do. So attenuation, like I want you to hear the engine from about here, and I want it to be strong there, right?
So basically the green circle is 100% of the sound, and then the red circle is where the sound will fall off.
Right, and you can play with this, and it's really fun to play with this, because what I want is, as I'm sitting on the edge of the bridge here, I want the sort of like a Doppler effect of the car going by. So you play with that. So let's say that's that, and then that's it. So now let's go to my viewpoint. Roadway stand. Okay, so I'm about here. There's the car. See that? Did you guys hear that?
Yep.
So you'll hear it like getting louder and then fading as it goes by. And that's just amazing that I can do that with like a looping stupid sound that just goes like
I
it
think
really
if you make the red radius a little bit larger, the red
exactly.
radius, yeah.
And you can really have fun with this too. Like I'll wait.
Could you play with the whole the Doppler effect, isn't it?
It is like it's not a real Doppler effect, unfortunately, but oh man, you can't stop that.
You could fake it though, couldn't you? If you made two sounds, one a smaller cone in the front and one a longer in the back.
Totally. Yeah, I bet you could.
You could, but then it only works from that angle, right?
From that angle, yeah. As long as you're in that, but for Quest, it's perfect because you have locked viewpoints.
Unless you walk around.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I forgot.
If you have a lot of space.
Leave a note in front. Don't move. You'll break it.
Nice.
Like, it's so great to play with this. Honestly, it's just so much fun. The other thing is like a creek sound. So I might go into the creek, grab small creek, select, and then same with that. Loop it, spatialize it. Say okay, and then move it to there. And now when I go to this spot, not playing.
You have to stop and then play, right? Did you stop once?
Thought I did.
There we go.
Nice. There you go. And, you know, you can play with that. The gain, or, you know.
There's also like different attenuation sound emitters and stuff like that. I'm planning to make a tutorial about that because it gets kind of complex.
It is confusing. You're right. Like even with this, I wasn't sure. But so that's that. And then, you know, the rest is as simple as doing cool cameras, like say following the car. So I could do like a new spawn area, call it car cam. Set as the initial spawn. Let's see. Oh, there it is. So I might want to be like behind the car, above it, while it's driving. So I'll just add a camera there. Press this button, which says preview spawn area during playback, and then bam, I'm in the car. And it's really fun too, because like, you know, you can adjust how far you are, where you are. The car is definitely flying fast.
It's not making you nauseous, right?
No, not me. Do we have any time left, Goro, or is that it?
We're like 11:08, so you're a little bit over, but
okay, I can do one last thing, which is just like you can get these leaves that I put in earlier to animate as well.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So it's really simple. Now that I've already put it in a layer, tree leaves, right? And I've optimized it as well. You can go into here. Let's see. Yeah. And basically, there's a bunch of things you could do. I don't want to give this a lot of frames just because it's going to have a lot of polygons. I'm going to do a lot of different leaves. So it may be that you just need to do a few frames. Or you can also hit record and move it. But let's see. For this case, I'll do a couple of things. I want to have some leaves falling, and I want to sway the leaves just a little bit. So honestly, again, you only need to do
15 is probably a good number.
15 is probably enough, right?
Yeah.
Something
you
like
didn't duplicate. You might have to like delete all the frames again. Yeah. Yeah. Now duplicate. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Press play. Oops. Loop it. Press play. Let's take ourselves out of here for a sec. Okay, so now I've got a looping thing going, and I want to just, like, for one, grab some leaves and just have them.
I think, you know, for the leaves, you might want to do it on a separate layer and make it longer, the loop.
That's true, so they actually fall.
Yeah,
but sometimes you may just, honestly, you don't need much. You could just even do a flicker here and there on a simple layer. But the thing I wanted to show you is more the grab tool. So you can do this and just kind of like, and depending, you really want to be softer.
Short loops like this, it's actually better to use the nudge tool because the grab tool moves the whole strokes, and the nudge tool.
That's right, you mentioned that.
Yeah, basically manipulates over time. So.
Yeah, you can see it's a little smoother. And you know, depending on how much you want the wind to look like it's swaying, you just need longer frames. But sometimes it's just a matter.
And in this case, I would also make the nudge just smaller and go individually into the leaves. Yeah, exactly, just like that. Because then you get the random.
You get the random, exactly. Because all you're really trying to do is show like that a wind ripple passed through these.
Be the wind.
Be the wind.
I like to hear the creak from the left side of my ear.
Yeah. I know. I like sometimes just putting the sound in. The other thing I put in here is the sound of the music I had, which was fun.
I started working on my work from home piece, and as soon as I put the bird sound coming into the windows, I was like, why wasn't I working like this the whole time?
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I got music too, man.
Yeah.
I like this.
You might want to turn down the volume.
Yeah, totally. Hold on.
You were in the right spot. Oh, you do it like that.
I don't know, honestly. Which is better?
You can do it through the gain. Probably through the gain is better. The gain.
Oh, interesting. I haven't done it with that. That's cool.
That works.
What did I do? Hit bounding box for everything? Okay. So that's kind of the idea, right? And you can see like the leaves, as you get closer, like you just want this feeling of movement here. Same here. I would probably do like close-ups and do grape leaves slowly moving in the wind, things like that. I had a farmer here, simple stuff like that. I mean, that's essentially it. And then same with the car. Once you have that car going, it's really easy to just go grab him. I wait till it's actually visible. And dupe it. And in the case of the other video, I turned the car into a truck way out there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're just going to go in at that point into this layer and just change the art and change it to whatever you want. Like here, I'll just make it red, for example. Okay, so there's now I have a red car. Maybe it could even be coming towards me. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Although it will, because the road's actually not curved the same way. Drunk driver. It happens in Napa. I mean, that could be a funny animation. Have them both like playing chicken, and then one has to swerve out of the way at the last second.
This is excellent.
Yeah, cool, guys. So that's kind of like the gist of it. It's really fun. I'm glad we got to cover the basics of the animation because that's half of it. The other thing I would do is move some of those clouds really slowly. Like you can drift a few across the sky, and you see that reflecting in the water. More stuff in the water, and that's it. You're done.
Cool.
Cool, guys.
Looking good, man.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
It's awesome.
It's super fun, like 2-part series. Thanks for doing
Yeah. No, I'm glad. It was really great. And, I'll post this video. Thank you, Sam, for doing a backup for me. And yeah, I'll post that to YouTube as well. So it'll be like 3 videos by the time we're done. But play with the sound. It's really fun. The other last thing I'll say is you can take this entire sky dome and cloud and turn it into a 360 by capturing it and bring it back in as a simple dome, sky dome.
Yeah,
so that would be like...
That is covered in my optimization tutorial if you want to see it.
Yep.
When you quickly mute your sound, like go to the timeline and just hit the top, at the very top, that sound icon. Yep, next.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yay!
Cool. Yeah,
All right, guys.
This turned
that
out
was really
to be
fun.
really great. Yeah, it's super.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, this is it. Like that's half the thing, and then like the rest was just like details, signs, people. I put the cat in, things like that.
I love that drunk driver there.
The drunk driver is good.
It's so funny.
Too much wine. I should have a cop coming behind him.
Just have him veer into the creek.
Totally. And what's fun is you could do, I was just thinking this, like as the car hits the grass right there, you could trigger different, particle animations there to make it look like, it's grass at that point. That would just be a matter of sliding the timeline around. That'd be really fun.
Like the grass ripping off the ground.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of...
I mean, you could do all kinds of fun things. And I love that. This is one of the things I just love is that I can create an elaborate thing and then dupe it and move it around in real time. And you see all these fun new emergent things that you would never think about doing. This in Maya would have taken me hours because I would have to like set up paths and, all these other things.
I think it's more days than hours.
Sure, totally. Days even. I mean, forget the modeling, just to set up like an animation as simple as that. And I would never get the charming dust clouds and things like that. Like, that kind of stuff, whenever I've demoed it to people, they're just like so impressed by how you can, it feels like you're drawing really, but you're getting animation. So it's really fun. And I love this ripple trick too. It's just adds such life to a simple water scene. So yeah.
Really cool.
Cool, guys. Thank you. I'm glad you
Thank you so much.
tuned in.
It looks great.
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
happy.
Mike.
Thanks. No problem. Anytime.